All right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is a wonderful session we're going to have. It is a hybrid event, both in person, and we have, I think, about 15 people on Zoom. We have a full house here. We're going to run this a little bit differently, and we're here at Birch Road. For now, we're going to keep this door open, but if other people show up at Birch Road because it's an open space, and there's noise, we'll end up closing the door. Eric has put into the chat, I believe, the order that we're starting off with. Is that right, Eric?
Yep.
Okay, great, wonderful. So let's talk about tonight's session. It's going to go a little bit differently. Those of you online will be especially glad to know that I'm going to be shutting up soon, so that's a good thing, and turning it over to the professionals. Many of us have known Jake Hukee now for 5, 6, 7 years at least. Jake was introduced to us originally with Starward, and all of us who have enjoyed getting free samples over the years, it's Jake's fault, okay? Jake has made Eric and me so busy it is ridiculous, because when we scheduled our first Starward tasting back in the winter of 2020, in the throes of COVID, Jake said, "What's everybody going to be drinking?" And I said, well, we usually tell people to go out to Binny's and buy a bottle of whatever we're tasting. And Jake said, well, why don't I give you samples and you get them out to people? It was like mind blown. Okay, we could do that. Next thing you know, Eric buys a few thousand little bottles, a few thousand little, a few thousand tops, a whole bunch of labels. And Michael Bloom and Michael Nolan would show up at Eric's house with me, and we would just be pouring like crazy. So Jake really changed us, and we thank you very much for that. It was a change for the better. Jake is now with another company, and Jake loves to introduce us to new brands. That's one thing that Eric and I love to do with these sessions, is introduce people to brands that they might not know otherwise. Many of us have heard of the Isle of Skye. What distillery does everybody know here from the Isle of Skye? You can say it. You can say it. Everybody knows. Talisker. Everybody knows Talisker. Guess what? It's not the only one. Okay. And today we are really privileged to have Bruce Perry here from Torabhaig, right? Torabhaig.
Yep.
Thank you. From Torabhaig. He is going to run us through their expressions. They are wonderful. They are delicious. And I am now going to turn the microphone over to Jake and Bruce, and you guys can take it away.
No problem. Thank you. Thank you very much. Good evening. Good evening online. I hope you can see me, but I can see someone checking that everything's happening. You're going to monitor the chat as well for me, aren't you? Okay, wonderful. And online, you can see the same screen that everybody can see propped up, not precariously, but it might look like it on the side over there. Anybody can't see anything, I've got a little iPad on the go here as well. It's not going to move with the presentation, but if you want to see something, just ask, we'll bring it to you. So the first thing was, we were just talking about the pronunciation there, and I just think it's probably worth repeating, and the reason why. So in Scottish Gaelic, or Gaelic as we prefer to call it, there's only 20 letters in the alphabet. One of the letters that's missing, are you looking for something? Brightness? Oh, sorry. Oh, do you want to mute it? Is that okay?
Yeah.
Sorry about that. Yep. So one of the letters that's missing, if you like, relative to the alphabet with which we're familiar, is the letter V for Victor. When you see a B and an H together, that is a V. So don't try going Torabhaig or anything like that, or what have you. It's Torabhaig, and it means the hill above the bay. And if you just try and remember something like the Irish girl's name, Siobhan, and the spelling of that, that might help you remember how to pronounce Torabhaig. So we are, as was rightly pointed out in the introduction there, the second distillery on Skye, and the first new one for 200 years. Which begs the question, when you think about Islay, why? Because there's, I think, 12 functioning distilleries on Islay today. And the reason, I always used to say it's because we're quite isolated, but actually, so are they. So really, I'm down to 2. And the reason is we're very, very peaty island, far too peaty to to cultivate barley, well, at all really, and also too mountainous to keep the water on the surface. But 12, 13 years ago, we found that. The screen's just changed, guys. Yep, go for it. This is in a slightly different order, so there we get that. We found, yeah, and this was the ruin of a very, very old cattle steading, and probably dating to about 1760. And that quadrangular sort of shape there that you can see was designed really to, it was a shelter. And if you look closely, you can see that there's a door up on the second floor and there's a door on the ground floor. You might not be able to discern it, but there is a staircase between the two. And that's simply because the farmer and his family would have lived upstairs and the cows downstairs. It would have been the central heating of the 17th century, 18th century. And anyway, why on earth did we buy that? And the reason is very simple. Behind that building there, up on the hill, were two water sources, and they had been dammed. And there was a tank on the hill, gravity feeding water into this farmsteading here. And as a consequence of that, that meant now if we could restore this building, we had a water source and we could make whiskey. And on the Isle of Skye, that was something that was very, very appealing indeed. So we did indeed restore it. And you can see that the height of the roof and the pitch of the roof and every door and every window is in exactly the same place that it was in when we started. And that's because buildings like that are protected in Scotland. The interesting thing is when we designed the stills, they had to fit inside that. In fact, we had 4 years of works, little project. The only way to get the stills in was through the roof. And during those 4 years, well, we had 2 of them because after 2 years, we had to have the stills designed. But we had that time to think about what it was we were going to make. I think it was Roger Daltrey of The who said that a musician starts with silence. Well, we started with fresh air. What were we going to make? We kind of, in the end, we used the Isle of Skye as our muse, the inspiration for the whiskey. So to do that, we had to define the Isle of Skye. And essentially, the Isle of Skye is very peaty and always beautiful. Doesn't matter how bad the weather gets. So that's easy to say. How do you get that in a glass? So we went for very, very high ppms in the grain. We wanted Neil MacLeod Mattison, our whiskey maker, said he wanted a heavy peating on the way in and a very well-mannered peating on the way out.
People need to start drinking.
That you're about to start right now. So I want you to, so really we wanted a very peated whiskey that was not searingly medicinal. We wanted a very peaty whiskey that was elegant, floral, delicate, and elegant. And so exactly as you said, I'd like you to start now on chapter 2, which is number 1, top left of your tasting mat, Torabhaig Alt Glaun.
Cheers.
I did like it.
It would probably surprise you, I'm guessing. Do you have any ideas what it might be? You never know. It's not a fair question, really.
For this group, it could be.
No, yeah. Yes, there you go. That's a good guideline. So what do you think that is? Okay.
35.
Okay. What I was saying just before you tasted it was we wanted a very heavy peating on the way in, but we wanted a very well-mannered peating on the way out. So this is an interpretation of peat with which you may not be familiar. because there's many different dimensions to peat. This is 77 ppms in the grain. And I'm going to explain to you how that is, why that is, and how it tastes like that. What is a ppm?
Best question of the night.
Yeah. It's a bit like it's a bit like being on the square. The Masons, we have secret handshakes and stuff as well.
You're a doctoral student here, and I'm like in elementary school.
Okay. Right. So a ppm, gosh, I was going to get into this a little bit later, but we'll do it a little bit of it now, and we'll do a lot of it later on. A ppm is a part per million, and it's a measure of phenolic part per million. And the phenolics that we're measuring are the amount of essentially peat smoke that's in the barley. Okay, it's measured by high pressure liquid chromatography, so it's not some subjective thing. It's correct to 1/10 of a part per million. And we actually, when we get the information back, we actually get it in micrograms per liter, which, if you add all those zeros up, is 1 part per million. So a bit like smoking a salmon. If you smoke a salmon for 6 hours, you've got a smoked salmon. You smoke one for 18 hours, you've got an even more smoked salmon.
So this goes.
So this is a very, very heavily peated whiskey, and that may surprise you, the number, given that you were with the Lafroig at your 45, which is quite right. But it's about a still works a little bit like a flute. You can get a high note off it, and you can get a low note off it. It's still a note. But let's a little bit about how we made this whiskey. First of all, the fermenters. We ran the fermenters. We did long fermentations because we wanted to develop fruity characteristics in the beer. Because if our smoke was going to be very floral and very fragrant and delicate and elegant, it meant that you'd be able to taste other stuff. And we wanted that other stuff to come and shine through. And so by creating some fruity characteristics in the beer, we'd get those concentrated, and they would come through in the whiskies. And then with the distillation, very slow, very, very slow. We wanted to give the vapors a lot of copper contact. All right, so the stills are made of copper. And as you know, sulfur is present in anything of an organic nature. If you run the still slowly, in vapor form, the sulfur and the copper react. And we're making things like copper sulfate and things like that in the stills, too heavy to pass up through the line arm. They fall down, and you start to make a very light-bodied whiskey. And then we take our cut points very early. So if you don't know what cut points are, I'll explain that in a minute, but we're trying to capture the lightest, the most delicate, the most aromatic notes in our whiskey. Okay? Yes.
That floral iodine.
Okay. Okay. Yes. Yes. You get some apple. Yes, I seem to remember getting apple in the early days. That as we move on, I think you're going to see that change. When I say move on, I mean in other whiskies. But yes, there was some definite fruity notes there. Okay.
Question from, are the stills direct fired or steam heated?
As in a coal fire type thing?
Yeah.
No, we're using gas, and there's an element inside. Yeah. We were using oil originally, but no, it's not an open fire. It's not like Yoichi. No. Everything's copper. The whole thing. Inside, the element is copper. Yes, absolutely right. Yeah, and the reason for this is copper is is not only catalytical in its contribution to the whiskey. It's a very even conductor of heat. If you look at the bottom of pastry chefs' saucepans, they're always copper. Yeah, absolutely. But if you look inside, let me just do a little dot. There you go. That's the condensers. So quite often quite often in a distillery, you'll see the line arm going out the roof into a serpentine column called a worm tub. works perfectly well, but it won't give you the amount of copper contact that these will, because inside each of those tubes is 100 copper tubes. And it works the other way around. They're full of cold water and the vapors come in at the side and they're coming into a nest of copper. And if you think we're doing that twice, we're really maximizing the amount of copper contact we give the vapors. And that's why I said to you, we had 2 of the 4 years, because we by the end of the second year, we designed the stills. So then really up to a point, our style was determined by that. Okay, so if you can imagine, I told you we used the Isle of Skye as the muse. We wanted a well-mannered Pete. Look, it's all very airy-fairy. That's called art. All right? Because when you get in the distillery on the first morning, that is called science. And so the first question, could the science meet the art? Because we were guessing. We were absolutely guessing what to do. What barley, sorry, not what barley, we didn't have much choice in that. What ppms to bring it in at, which yeast to use, how much yeast to use, how warm to run the stills, how hot to run the stills, where to cut. And we guessed at 55 ppms to start with, and we did various different things. And to our surprise, 55 wasn't enough, which is why we ended up at 77. We weren't aiming for 77. To make what we wanted to make, that's where we needed to get to. But after 2 weeks of distilling, we had a product, and now it was tangible. For the first time, there was something tangible in the room. And now it was a case of moving the science of day one to meet the art. And to do that, you change one thing at a time, one thing at a time, one thing at a time. Every 2 weeks, we changed one thing at a time until we found the recipe that would become Torabhaig 10-year-old in the future. That took us about 10, 11 months. And it was really great to have the recipe established. But by this time, we had 2,500 barrels of whiskey. And if you tasted through them, there was a clear evolution to the style from birth through to the recipe that would become the future. And we thought that people like you might quite like to come on our journey with us as we find our house style. Because if you ask me today, what will your 10-year-old taste like? I don't know. Okay? Yeah. And in fact, we've never known anything, really. We're beginners at this because no one's ever played with this toy before. We assumed that first fill bourbon casks would be the way forward, because if you're going to make a light, elegant, delicate, floral whiskey, these barrels bring a wonderful finesse, and that has proven absolutely correct. But it didn't mean that we were going to forswear every other kind of barrel. What were they going to do? And so chapter 3 was really about that. Chapter 3 was about using a little bit sherry cask. But the problem with sherry cask is it's immensely powerful. Now, if you're going to make a really big, full-bodied whiskey, maybe you run your stills a lot more quickly, keep the sulfur in there, maybe you cut lower, then you put it in sherry cask for 15 years, you're going to make a wonderful fruit cakey type whiskey at the end of that time. But with our elegant floral whiskey, you put that in sherry cask for 15 years, you're probably best buying a bottle of sherry. So I think that but we wanted to see, could we get some dried fruit? Could we get some nuts? Could we get some orange rind? But remain Torabhaig, as in don't upset the DNA. And so in the end, after much arguments, discussion, and all-round general blending, we ended up with chapter 3, Croch Pneumonia, was very roughly speaking 92% the same as the one you just drank. Fractionally older, but 92% Altglaun and 8% sherry cask. And 6% was Oloroso and 2% was Pedro Jimenez. So that's chapter 3, Croch Pneumonia. Okay, and this is a logical next step.
Out of curiosity, where does the flavor get added in this filling process?
Very good question. I've heard lots of stories told about peat, which I'd like to debunk. People say, oh, the water's very peaty. Well, it might be. But if you drink the water, it doesn't taste like that. And if you actually decide that you're going to eat peat, which I don't recommend, although it has been known, Mike Billett, the peat scientist, actually eats it. Not all the time, but just to try and taste the difference. But I don't know. Yeah. But What's the thing is that for peat to give that kind of characteristic, you have to burn it. Okay? You have to burn it. So if it's not being burnt, it's not giving that. So if people tell you, oh, the local river gives it the peaty character, no, it doesn't. Absolutely not. What happens is that if you want to make brandy, you take grapes, you crush them up, and the yeast that's naturally on the skins starts eating the sugar, the fructose, turns it into alcohol, and then you can distill it. But if you crush up barley, that's not going to happen because you've got to convert the starch to sugar first. The way you convert the starch to sugar is you soak the barley in water. We call it steeping in Scotland. Steep the barley in water. This fools the grain into thinking it's a plant again, and it starts to germinate. Now, the minute you see it starting to germinate, you need to stop it because the enzymes are now present inside the barley that will convert the starch to sugar. But if you allow it to continue germinating, all of its energy will go to that shoot, and you'll have nothing left to make your beer. You take it out and you dry it. Now, you could take it out in here and do it on the floor. You could get it dried, no problems, and it would work, no drama. But if you dry it over a peat fire, the smoke from the peat fire rises up and imbues the barley with its smoky characteristics. A bit back to my smoked salmon analogy. The longer you leave it in that smoky room, the more phenolics are going to be in your barley. Okay, and it's as simple as that.
Another question?
Yeah.
And by the way, for questions, you can repeat them for the people online.
Yep, very good.
Your whiskeys have amazing legs.
Yep.
You know, there's an interesting texture. Can you talk about where that comes
Yeah, the question was, the whiskey has amazing legs. There's a texture about them. Can you talk about where that comes from? I mean, it's it varies from time to time. I think that it's a sort of glycerol type comment. I honestly, I'm interested by the question because I don't think it actually matters greatly to the whiskey. I'm not. I think with wine, we tend to look at the legs, we look at the core, we look at the rim, we look at it, and it's really worth looking at because it gives you a lot of information about the wine. And the reason for that is that the color and everything, all of these things, they come from the raw material. But with us, they don't. The whiskey is water white coming off the still. All of these other things now are starting to come from other places. So one of the things I would do with a whiskey, or one of the things I wouldn't do with a whiskey, is actually look at it. I'm not that bothered. And if you want to take it through to its natural conclusion, let's look at blue Curacao. And the thing is the color natural? Well, you don't know. The paler it is, the more likely it is to be. But maybe a wee bit spirit caramel got added. Maybe it didn't. We say on our labels, no color added. So you know that. But really and truly, I wouldn't worry too much about the appearance of a spirit. I would worry much more about the nose and the palate. That's my opinion on that.
How old is this? You said you don't know what a 10-year-old is.
Yeah.
That's not 10 years old.
Well, no, we bought that old cattle steading in. Sorry, I keep touching the microphone. I hope I'm not interfering online. We bought the old cattle steading in 2014, and we restored it. We started distilling on the second week of January 2017. All right. Now you cannot just say, oh, well, that makes this, what date is it today? You can't do that because we used as I said to you, the first 10, 11 months of distillation, we made about 2,500 barrels, and we divided those into 3, and we used a small percentage of that as the foundation for our first 3 whiskies on this journey to 10-year-old. But we also top dressed it with younger stuff. The answer to your question is I don't know. Okay. I'm going to guess, which one of you are asking me about, the Croch pneumonia?
Oh,
I don't know.
okay.
5.5-ish,
Yeah.
maybe. Well, yes. Again, this is something I do want to come back to in what we're talking about. because I think it's really one of the things that's like peat is not well understood is age statements and aging and balance. I was just in France last week, or not last week, 2 weeks ago, doing this, and they were talking about exactly the same thing. And I said, it's like the Roland Garros, the tennis tournament, the French Open. If you're good enough, you're old enough. I think it's really, really important that you don't buy the box, you don't buy the label, the key to a good drink of any description, be that wine, be it spirit, be it whatever, is balance. Okay, now we might as well do that now. Are you happy with the 2 whiskies you've got at the moment if I talk some more? Okay. Yeah, yep, with that one. Yeah.
When you are bottling it, then are you going then for, your flavor profile, your balance, regardless of the age?
Totally.
Yes.
We would not have a clue.
Yeah.
All right.
Can you
Because
repeat the question for the people?
yeah, sorry. Yeah, the question was when you're blending the barrels together to make a given expression, are you blending it together for the balance regardless of the age? And I said, yes, absolutely. Now, to be fair, actually, that question will change because when we do a 10-year-old, but we're not going to put in the blending room anything that isn't 10 years old to play with. So,
Yeah.
but yes, we will be dictated to then by what we call AYS, the age of the youngest spirit. But here, no, we're not bothered about the AYS other than to ensure it's above 3.
Yeah.
For legal
And the
purposes.
next one we can actually pronounce for you.
Well, yes, you can. Do you want to go on to the next one, or do you want to go back to why the balance is there? Okay. See, I'll just give me 5 seconds. If you've got those first 2 on the go, we'll move to the sound of slate in a minute. So you now can pronounce it. But yeah, the key is right. The copper contact that I told you about. Now, if we ran those stills much, much more quickly and kept a lot of the sulfur in them, and then we cut later, this is where the cut happens. You can, right, there you go. Right, there are, in the right-hand section, there are 2 funnels. And to the left is where the heads and the tails go. And then you move that faucet, the metal faucet that you can see across, and that's where the heart goes. Now, we do that very early at both ends. We run a 15-minute foreshot, and we cut at 64% alcohol. That's very high for a heavily peated whiskey. And these are lighter, they're more delicate, they're more elegant. So by knocking as much of the sulfur out as we do, and by really only aiming to capture the lighter, more aromatic vapors to be in our whiskey, we are asking a lot less of our barrels when it comes to maturing and achieving balance. If we ran the stills more quickly, kept a lot of the sulfur in there and cut lower, the barrels would need to work harder, read longer. And also we might use more sherry barrels, as in something that had a bit more power about it. So don't worry too much about the age statements, but I can feel that some of you are anxious to get on to chapter 4. So the ppn on that one is 78.4. But this is in the grain, and we are going to talk about ppms later on. But let's talk about the next one. The next one is called The Sound of Slate. Now, that's in English because our team of directors believed that the Gaelic was simply too difficult. Well, we'll see if you can pronounce it. There we go. That's it there.
No, I'm going to pass on
Okay.
that. Sorry, pass.
That's linear slature. Or slature is probably a little bit more aspirative than that. Anyway, regardless, The Sound of Slate is the first time we used the 2018 year as a foundation. So the recipe is practically finalized here. Now we're looking at the impact of different wood on the whiskey. And this is 75% first fill bourbon, 5% refill whiskey, and 20% virgin American heavy toast. Okay, and that's really brought quite an interesting difference. I don't like to tell you what to taste before you've tasted. I'm going to let you taste it first, and then I will say, a couple of the things that I've noticed. But that's an opinion, not a fact.
Coffee.
Okay.
The mocha. Yeah.
I was like, no, yeah.
I got a brightness.
Yeah.
Just lightly.
I don't mean this in a bad way, but.
Funkiness.
It's like when I say cheese, it smells like feet, tastes like heaven.
Right.
Yeah.
George Clinton.
I get a beeswaxy sort of note. There's a sort of unctuous feel to this. The mouth feel is different here. I get sweet spice, and we're starting to get some yellow fruit now. And I don't mean a banana. I'm talking, the yellow plum, the mirabelle, or the maybe a little bit apricot or peach apricots or peach skin or something like that. So this is the sound of slate. This is chapter 4, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about the label design for this, because the observant among you will have noticed that we changed the label, and this is why. So when we moved to the Isle of Skye, so to speak, in 2014, one of the important things to us was to integrate in the community. We donated money to the Salmarostag, the School of Gaelic Culture, Language, Learning in general. We then gave money to the local hospital during COVID. I mean, not much. I don't make us out to be huge benefactors or anything, but we donated. And the other thing we did was we hired all local people. I'll come back to them in a minute. But all of these things were 5, 6, 7, 8 years old. And of course, if you do something good, people forget it fairly quickly. If you do something bad, it's never forgotten. And so we asked a local artist to design the next label for us. And where is she? She's there somewhere. There she is. So yeah. So she's an impressionist painter, and we asked her to create her impression of the sound of slate, which she did. She's captured a mood almost, in a way. She's captured the color of the hills, the sea, and really for me, she's captured the weather. But that's my interpretation of her painting. Yeah. I don't know what if she would view it that way.
Yeah.
Absolutely beautiful.
Is the slate, is it like the stone, like it is?
No.
Okay.
Is the slate the stone? No, we are on the Slate Peninsula, and the sound of slate is the body of sea between us and mainland Scotland that you can see there. So yeah, so the Alt Glown, the first one, is a river that's in the hills, and you can see it in the where is it here? There it is there. The little picture, the snowy picture, that's the sound of, that's not at all the sound of slate. That is the Alt Glown coming into the sea. The Alt Glown, that translates as the Valley Creek Brook. It's one of our water sources. So you're drinking water from that river in all of your whiskies today. That's the Alt Glown. Back to there, whoopsie, sorry. Back there, you've got, over in the distance, one of those hills is the Croch na Mornia, the Hill of Peat, and the sound of slate is the body of sea between the two. Okay, now, we'll talk about our distillers in a little minute.
One quick question.
Yeah.
We're going to need a break after we finish this one so that we can pour
Yes, we
the
are.
next round. And I
Yeah.
just want to make that, so the people online, just so you know, in a few minutes, we're going to take a little break so that we can pour our next rounds here.
So what I thought I might do before we did that, if you want to just enjoy what you've got in front of you for a little moment, I thought I might just tell you about ppms if you're interested. Okay, it's quite scientific. Okay, just a second. There we go. All right, now guys,
Looking an asterisk.
right, no, not that one. There we go. Right, now listen, you don't need to worry too much. The screen in front of you, obviously from where we're all sitting, no one can read it. Okay? The people at home probably have a slight advantage.
Yeah.
All you need to be able to see is a red bar, a blue bar, and a green bar. Okay, if you can do that, you're in. Now, there's three charts with a red bar, a blue bar, and a green bar in front of you. The top left-hand one is the one we're going to talk about to start with, and that is the ppms in the grain in our distillery when we distilled on the 7th of March, 2018. Now, the thing about ppms is everybody bangs on about numbers of ppms. The number that you're always given is the number in the grain. And this is the first problem, right? You don't drink the grain, okay? The first thing we do to the grain is add water. There's another word for that, it's called dilution. And having diluted very considerably the ppms, we then drain that water off once it's become sweet and send it off to the fermentation tank. We then take the draff and put it in a tractor and give it to the pigs. Bye-bye some of the ppms. There they go off down the road in the tractor. Then we make a beer. And then with that beer, we make a first distillation. We move a beer of about 8. I'm going to make my arithmetic here very easy. We move a beer of about 8% to a beer of about 24%, a threefold concentration. So we've got the ppms that we've got left, which are now less, we've moved them up. And then we put it in a second distillation. We bring it off at about 72%. No, we don't, but I'm going to make that up because it's nice and easy. A 9-fold concentration from the original. However, we throw out the heads and the tails, so bye-bye ppms. Then we've got some ppms left, to which we add water to bring it down to 63.5% alcohol before we put it in a barrel. That's dilution. And then it ages and the oxygen gets involved and we lose some. And then we add more water to bring it down to 46%. So the number you end up with bears no resemblance to the number you started with. So why do we give you the number in the grain? Marketing. And okay, so I want you to just, anyway, the ppms is a total of 3 different families that all taste different. We've got the red bar, that's the phenol family. We've got the blue bar, that's the cresol family. And we've got the green bar, that's the guaiacol family. Now, the blue bar, the cresol family, is the thing that tastes of what you all think peat tastes of. Medicinal, iodine, wet Band-Aid, ashtray, cold fireplace in morning. Okay? The green bar, which is tiny in the grain here, so the green bar is contributing 4 ppms. And it is more floral, it's more delicate, it's more elegant, it's more aromatic. It's more like the smoke that you get from a bonfire in your yard, and that sort of sweet smell from vegetation. And the red bar, think of the red bar. If the blue bar, the cresols, is Coke, then think of the red bar as Diet Coke. Okay, so just a lighter version. Now, as I told you, distillation concentrates. But if we run the stills really, really slowly, now guaiacols are more volatile than cresols. So they're going to vaporize first. Now, it's not like a red carpet, don't get me wrong, where the cresols say, oh, after you to the guaiacols. But the slower you do it, the more separation you're going to get. The guaiacols come over and we cut early. So we are going to concentrate and collect those. The cresols are also going to be concentrated, but they're going to come over, but we will have stopped collecting before the vast majority of them turn up. So now you're going to get a very peaty whiskey that isn't so medicinal. Now, if you look at the next chart, the top right-hand side one, this is straight off the still immediately after distillation. Now, the blue bar, the numbers read in the grain on the left-hand one, 24, and on the right-hand one, 15. So they have come down now. But the green bar has moved from 4 up to 11, concentrated up and collected. And by the time you end up in the glass now, which is the bottom one, you've got numbers which read 6, 5, and 5, roughly speaking. Okay? So you look at that's in your glass. So you've got a total number. In fact, in Alt Glown, the average is 17 ppms in the glass, starting at 77 in the grain. Okay, but it's not the number that's important. It's the makeup of the different families of phenolics. And you can see there that the green bar, having come from a standing start in the grain, is now a major player in the taste. So this is a very peaty whiskey, very heavily peated whiskey. It's a very elegant, delicate, aromatic interpretation of that heavy peat. And it may not be peat as you recognize it, because you're all focused on that dead, wet elastoplast, that medicinal iodine TCP-like smoke, which is one interpretation of peat. So I don't want to make myself sound too much like Star Trek.
It's okay.
I'd like you to think of Torabhaig as peat in the third dimension. Okay?
Very good.
Right.
All right.
You may now have a break and change your glasses.
Okay. So for the people online, we're going to take about a 5-minute break. Everybody in the room, please either finish what you have, you don't feel like you need to, or pour it out. There are pouring buckets on here, and Jake will go around and we'll pour the rest of the whiskeys. Oh yeah, there's pizza left too.
Tea and pizza.
I don't want to pour out this down the sleeve.
And put your glasses on the section of the mat that we have not yet used. Okay, because we're going to be pouring them into this. And please get out of the way so that Jake can go right before. It's a very tight room.
I have to stop myself from engaging with the kids sometimes.
It's hilarious.
That's awesome.
I think the break would be a good time to bring you in as a start. So when we start back up, I'll just say you've been blah blah blah, and then you have you got a microphone on or not?
I will give
Okay. In fact, it's there. Or you can even have mine. Okay.
Where you
Are you muted online?
not, but I can.
Well, I might just sort of chat and move things around and stuff like that. So, not that I'm going to say anything horrible about them.
So I do have one.
We would
question
love
that
to
we
hear
can-
what you said.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Jonathan, what was your question?
No, I would love to hear that. My question was, I was a bit confused, and Eric did say that you have all these different expressions, but it seems like you kept on referring to the 10-year. Will they all be blended for the 10-year, or are these just going to be regular expressions that that when we go to the store, we can look for?
Okay.
Yeah.
It's in your
Let me
headphones.
just mark it down, yeah. Because I didn't
You
want
have
to.
really long hair.
No, no, it's okay. It's okay.
So-
It's good.
No, I know we are.
Go on,
So the question is,
Did have very long hair. Okay.
because we had mentioned originally that,
Familiar.
that there's gonna be
Then
a
when you say,
10-year.
Jake, I'm like,
Yeah.
it's funny.
So that's going to be something that is going to be involved in having a 10-year.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. In fact, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. We're essentially,
Okay. Maybe a little less than that and.
Sound of Slate. As I said to you, we're learning as we go along here because we're beginners.
The opposite. I had.
No one's ever done this
20
before.
years and then in
So
COVID, I
every
started
time we
finding out.
release a chapter, there's learnings for us, and normally the little plan that we have changes. And so Sound of Slate has been no exception, because we think our opinion here is the balance is absolutely outstanding. And we're we always wanted to make a beautifully balanced whiskey. Of course we did, but we didn't expect to get it quite this early. And as a consequence of that, instead of another chapter next year, we're going to release a non-age statement. That's the NAS that you can see there on that screen. And that's going to be a permanent reference for the very first time. And then we'll have then the year after, we'll have a chapter 5. And then the year after that, we'll have a 10-year-old, and that will be another permanent reference. So we'll then have 2 permanent references, a non-age statement and a 10-year-old. And that's the plan at the moment. And these chapters, if you think about it, I told you as we were learning the recipe, We changed one thing at a time, one thing at a time, one thing at a time. Another way of saying that same thing is we stopped doing one thing at a time. We stopped doing one thing at a time. So each of these chapters is going to finish definitively relatively soon. I mean, not next week or this year, but Altglaun, I don't expect by next Christmas. I think it'll be in its death throes in terms of the stock available in the market. Koch and Ammonia, I think they'll all probably expire in the next 12 to 18 months. There will be a chapter 5, of course, but then the 2 permanent references will come in, and we've got other interesting things coming along. But if you're enjoying them, be aware that they will finish and try and grab a bottle before the chapter finishes. Does that answer the question?
Doing an event with the.
Yeah, thank you. That's very interesting.
Whiskey Club.
Yeah, he's in.
And then Wednesday, we're doing a dinner with her next door, which.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he said, thank you.
No problem.
Paul, do you want me to ask your question now, or do you want me to wait till after he gets back?
A lot of similar crossover. Do that at
Okay.
Bistro Magna.
What happened there? Ah,
So yeah, so Paul was wanting to know the difference between the 2 compounds. The I can't
yes,
remember now.
this is just guayacols and cresols. These are all smoky phenolics, but I mean, you're absolutely right. There are subfamilies that make up these families, but essentially, very, very simply put, these are carbon, oxygen, and hydrogen atoms organized slightly differently, with a little hydroxide tail sticking off the end. But it's very simply carbon, oxygen, and hydrogen atoms ever so slightly differently. If you want to Google it online, you can see the makeup of each of those families. How are you doing there? I come back. I'm just going to help him pour. Do you want me to help you pour, or are you just?
One is.
I was checking. Vinny's has all these.
Oh, good.
That is.
Yeah.
that's
That's the battery. Yes, he must have put it back in.
Oh,
Oh, you want me to pour this one?
Yes.
Oh.
That one. No, there's no doubt about it. All three of them
Oh.
are good.
What, this is the old ground batch strength? Oh, I see. Yeah, I got you.
Come out.
Oh, no, the peat.
Hey, another question for you guys, if you
Oh, you
can
poured it,
hear.
but you run out.
Sandra put 2 drops of water in it and it smoothed it out. It's like a much more even peat. It wasn't big.
Get out of the way.
But you like that, yeah. So after COVID, I used to love smoky whiskey and I hated rye. And then after COVID, I don't like smoky as much and I can drink rye.
Seeing as nobody wants any salad, can I have a little bit?
No soap at all. No soap? You're not getting any soap?
Oh.
I'm looking for. Yeah, I just do 1 or 2 drops and it just smooths it out really nice. And I'm looking for a bottle to bring over for Thanksgiving. What's that? I'm looking for a bottle to bring over for Thanksgiving. There you go. Well, that's the one you're going with, I'll bet. Yeah, no, I'm gonna bring out.
I had a change up since, Higgins, I'm living in, because I don't think I'm right down in Hermitage. Yeah. We supposed to be down. They went to Scotland. That bridge.
Right.
The bridge.
About $5.
At least $5.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
I just pulled it up.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So starting between 45 to.
Yeah, that's great.
Yes, you're right. We're smart about. Pouring for myself only. Just gonna chug out of the bottle.
Yeah.
Want to be the first?
I'm the same.
Yeah, I've been on mistakes. Yeah, it got you here, right? Sometimes you think you're the cool whiskey guy and then you wake up in the morning, you're like, I'm not a cool whiskey guy.
Cool whiskey guy.
Yeah. All right, man full of regret.
Great salad, you know, I mean, except for you just put that in your mouth. As somebody who,
All right, let's. Jake, are we finished?
We're done.
All right, everybody, head back in.
The whiskey just killed
No, that's not. I am one whole away from not being, let's just say alcohol. That is usually some of my. Oh, yeah, no, my heart was great.
Your way.
It's just random. It's, and it happened to me. So there's no nothing, but.
Uh, Eric, are we up and running?
That one's my favorite.
Who are we missing? Who was sitting there? Nolan. Oh, okay. Somebody's phone is ringing.
That's
Oh,
me.
it's Bruce's phone.
I didn't know where it was. I was,
Sorry, answer it if you need to.
no. I was using my watch to find it. I didn't know where it was.
There are people like all around. the
Oh, you
spectrum.
get the microphone. I'm going to let Jake do a little talk. Just
Okay. All right.
Sorry, what
Everybody,
were you
please. Please.
Nothing to
All right. So we are back. Everybody. Obviously, we're going a little longer than usual, but it's a little bit of a special event. We're here in person and online. Takes a little bit longer. No big deal. I'm going to give this microphone over to Jake, and he's going to start us up on the next round of whiskeys that we are sampling.
You want to come and stand here in the camera?
I'm kind of camera shy.
Right here. We're good. Are you there? You okay?
All right. Where did we leave off at?
We've done Altglaun, Knochnamonia, and Sound of Slate.
Do you want to go to the Distillery Reserve or go back?
I
to-
think we'll do Altglaun batch strength,
Okay.
and then we'll do Foursquare because I want to make a point about that.
Yes.
And then we'll come back and do the Madeira.
And then we have one more surprise at the very end.
We do.
That's not. That's not for you people online.
Yeah.
It's that too. One surprise that's not on the paper, let's say, or
Right.
that.
But remember, the people online got 1 ounce samples of everything.
Well-
Or, so they got a lot more whiskey.
But they didn't get a highball.
That's good.
Yes, they don't have to pour it out to make it plastic.
Lovely. Well, yeah, the Outglon box strength kind of gets into what we were at before with the Outglon, as in the Legacy series, sending every other chapter that we have off with a batch strength whiskey. So yeah, which I love how the higher amount of alcohol integrates with. I love the sound effects to my left. Gills all over the place.
Very much.
Right.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, you're
Lovely. I had the privilege of heading out to Skye at the end of July, and like what Bruce said to me as we were going back to Inverness at 6 a.m. for a 3-hour ride back to the airport, and then coming back to the States with a quick stopover at Heathrow, was that I'm glad you got to come not to see Skye but feel Skye. He doesn't remember saying it to me, but it was very prevalent in my head. But for that was, you really get to encapsulate what Skye is, and you can see the people from the distillery that are all local individuals that help make the brand, both from inside the distillery all the way to the cafe, the people who are sweeping the floor and doing all the maintenance work around the grounds of the distillery, because the people that are in the distillery making the whiskey are also the people on the outside maintaining the entire property. But being there, you get to see the ruggedness, the terrain, the beauty of it also encapsulated all when you just drive down the road, or when you go hiking too, and you hike through rain, which I absolutely love. But maybe some other people on our trip didn't enjoy it as much as me, seeing the old man store. No, not seeing it. I guess.
Not seeing it.
Yeah. Clouds is one way of saying it.
Yeah. No, it was just, yes, it was.
Very.
Yes, yeah, which was why I loved it. No, it rained to the point where the ones who were smart enough to bring an extra change of clothes, changed their clothes. The ones who wore waterproof jackets, had a wet jacket, but that was about it. Yeah, so it was an experience of itself of seeing Skye in its whole beauty, and maybe not the greatest beauty of it, but still experienced it to what it is and how Torabhaig is bringing that island into side of a whiskey bottle because you have the ruggedness, obviously the peat effect that you see around. I was kept thinking the whole time while driving through, being a kid from Iowa and living in Illinois the last 15, 16 years, that everything you could plant something everywhere and you could grow. There's agriculture available and you could harvest it. Sky is absolutely impossible. It's mountainous, it's rugged, it's hilly, but it's also when it isn't downpouring and isn't gray, that sun comes out over the mountains and you see the greenery and you see the beauty of it all. That's what Torabhaig is trying to put inside of a whiskey bottle. It's the ground, the earth, but it's also the beauty from that. I think with the alt-ground batch strength, you find that it resonates so well because you have the batch strength, you have a higher amount of ppm in the glass of it's 22.8,
Yeah.
something like that. So a little higher than we tried before. But the most interesting part of this is that the balance, the beauty, the symmetry of it all might even be more elegant and approachable than the non-batch strength of it. It's just that honey vanilla note on it just absolutely pops out there, dances off your tongue. And what I love about it is what Gil was talking about earlier, the legs of our whiskey, where it sticks inside of your mouth so long and it has a pleasant feel to it. And there's like a rhythm to it while you're drinking it. That's absolutely delightful for that. So any thoughts on it? Yeah.
Like the
Exact same whiskey, batch strength. Yeah. Technically aged a little bit longer. Yeah.
Yeah, it's possibly, as Jake says, maybe it gotten a little bit older because we made Alt Ground for a 2.5-year period, which was why we sort of wanted to wave it a fond farewell from the bottling line at batch strength. So I think if you wanted to taste, we did about 6 bottlings of it. If you want, the difference between bottling 1 and bottling 2 is nothing. You'd never pick it.
Yeah.
Between 2 and 3 was nothing. Between 3 and 4 was nothing. But between 1 and 6, you might have noticed a little difference. We felt it had gotten a little older. So that is fractionally older than Old Ground, but in every other respect, it's the same. Sorry.
No.
Yeah, everybody online is just floored with the bathroom.
Yeah. Is it me or do I get less?
Yes, absolutely, less more.
No, no, you don't, because you now know that you actually get less cresols. But it's not, but it's
I failed my first test.
yes, sorry, where is that dunce's hat?
Yeah.
No, and there's the corner, can we stand there? No, the thing is that you are tasting peat, but you are tasting guaiacos. You are not tasting cresols, okay? But equally, on our box, The Sound of Slate, on the box here, we talk about smoke with taste. And with marketing people, you've got to understand that this is the only amount of space they've got to get their message across. It's tiny. How do you do it? And so what do they mean here with smoke with taste? And what they're saying is that because the smoke is so floral, so elegant, so delicate, it allows you to taste other things. Sometimes the medicinal character is so strong, that's all you can taste. But here we're picking up, you talked about vanilla and honey, absolutely right. And that's coming from the first fill bourbon barrels a lot. And lots of other things. It's almost erring towards smoked scallops. It's yellow fruit. There's so much going on in here. Smoke with taste.
Yeah, absolutely. And had anyone did try chapter 1 of Torabhaig? Anybody online? Yeah, I mean, yeah. On to the next stop. I like to liken it to a new sports franchise that's coming into a market where you can basically buy season tickets before there's any popularity for you. The team's going to be good. You start buying t-shirts, start buying merch at an early level and be on that ground floor. And then hopefully you're like the Florida Marlins and you're winning a World Series, less than 10 years before it became a franchise. And you can say you've been there since day one and be a fan and put pass that down to your family members, whoever else you like to, with those season tickets or with that franchise in mind as just your team. So with Torabhaig, it was that way. But on that second bottle, I drank it, starting to figure out, oh, like this is going to be gone. There's another chapter that's maybe here already or coming out very soon, talking with Jake and Brett about that. Then just by chance, I met Bruce in my basement, hanging out, recording a podcast one day while I was working for another larger Scottish distillery.
He's got a studio down there for those of you that wonder.
People do wander my basement. There's a back door, believe it or not. But yeah, it was we were recording. I was working for another larger distillery from Scotland at the time. I think Bruce could tell I was a little bit bored by it, but I almost felt like I got an open invitation when you're kind of done with this, come for work at a distillery where you can actually help make a footprint for the brand, but also with the people who are drinking it. And you can come along with that journey and start having your own experience with Torabhaig as they're building up their own experience too by building up to their 10-year-old whiskey and that statement. And so started about 8 months ago with the brand already being a fan of it, which is an easy transition when you already like the whiskey inside the bottle. You start trying more of the Legacy series, and then you get the Sound of Slate. You're like, oh wow, this is a different path. Yes, Sound of Slate. So no. Yes. So everything we're trying. Here's our one sales pitch of the night. Everything we're trying here tonight is available at
the
Binny's.
2017.
If we're trying here tonight, both online and in person, or hasn't come out yet. Exactly. And one of the, yeah. Binny's is they bought a Madeira cast single barrel that will be not this one, but one very similar in vein. It'll be out hopefully
you might find it in an house.
all blonde you can buy for $45 right now at Binny's. Sound of Slate, crack them 1 to 55. Batch strength all glon.
We don't have any.
85, I want to say. So definitely there, and then the Moss Burn's also available too.
I see. Came out February
Certain stores, not
2021.
readily available. But everything we are trying tonight is still in the market. We'll put it that way. But yeah, the interesting part was once you got the kind of slate, you can see where the brand was starting to diverge from the original cast that Bruce was talking about, how they distilled about 2,500 casts, really fine tune the recipe of the brand. And then when you try Sound of Slate out of a barrel while sitting in our dunnage at the distillery, you're like, well, this is kind of even to the next point, which we got to try with the all glom batch strength right now.
So we should have had this a year and a half ago, because I was inside a year and a half ago, and I had this vague awareness that there was another distillery. And, we could have gone out of our way for this.
Yeah. Sound of Slate just came out in Chicago less than a month ago. So still a lot of it available. I know a lot of you shop at the Lakeview Binny's. They've been through 3 cases of it already. Yeah, they're doing really well with it. So yeah, every Binny's you go to, it will be on the shelf, and they're well trained now with Bruce in town, so they should be selling it even better than before. Yeah. Got a few more planned out throughout the week as well. So yeah. Can we move on to Mossburn?
Let's move on. Exactly right.
Yeah. Which I'll let Bruce take it away because
no problem.
I don't work for Mossburn, I guess.
I'm gonna first of all, this is who the hell is Mossburn? So let's have a quick look at who Mossburn are. There we go. So Mossburn Distillers Limited is a company. It's not a distillery. All right. So I work for Mossburn Distillers. Mossburn Distillers owns and operates the distillery at Torabhaig. Mossburn Distillers makes a whiskey using a peaty whiskey in the islands. We call that Castile Chamush. We also blend using our own name, and we also independently bottle using our own name. And the Mossburn that we're going to show you now is a 12-year-old Speyside. Is it the rum? Is it the rum finish?
Yeah, the rum.
It's a 12-year-old Speyside finished in 4 square rum casks from Barbados. And so the first thing I want you to realize is that I am very, very deliberately showing you a whiskey that is unpeated after the peated whiskies. Okay?
Are we going to be able to taste it?
So why am I showing you an unpeated whiskey after the peated whiskey? And I want you to think about a wine tasting. All right? This was a wine tasting. Would I be showing you the white wine before the red wine or after? And the
I
answer,
don't know why.
well, and,
Four, you need white or red.
and the reason is that it's body weight. It's to do with body weight. Now, the Spaceides, which tend to be very heavily sherry cask oriented, by and large, they are heavier, meatier, fuller bodied, more stereotypically masculine. I've spent the last hour telling you that our whiskey is light, delicate, elegant, and floral. All right. So on a body weight basis, you should taste ours before the others. I've heard a lot of people say, oh, I can't taste anything after I've tasted peaty whiskey. And I challenge them. I say, I think you're just repeating something you heard someone else say. I don't believe that for a moment. It's true of some peaty whiskies, but not all. So I want you to think that this is a Sauvignon Blanc before a Cabernet Sauvignon. Spicy, complex, light, and elegant before big, full-bodied. And there is a lot of power in this whiskey here. It is a very big, full-bodied whiskey, and it's had a 12-month and 2-week finish in 4 square rum casks. If you can taste it, I rest my case.
Yeah. I'd like to taste it without.
Sorry?
How long was it?
12 months and 2 weeks.
How does that compare to the Madeira? The cask that we had with the Madeira that you had the 8% Madeira in? How long was?
No, the 8% sherry cask, the
Sherry
Croque
cask,
Pneumonia.
sorry.
No, that doesn't compare at all, because that is not a finish. This is a finish. The 8% sherry cask was essentially a whole life aging. So we put whiskey in sherry casks, in Oloroso casks, in Pedro Jimenez casks, in first fill bourbon casks, and in refill bourbon casks, and we blended them all together. The percentage of that was the 8% to which you refer, but that was at Torabhaig. I'm going to say this carefully. We don't do finishes at Torabhaig. That's not to say that we won't, but currently we don't, and we haven't done, and we never have done.
You're essentially doing full maturation.
Totally, 100%. The barrels were correct.
Why was it?
Because Richard Seale's a very good friend of ours.
Everybody, please, we have a hybrid event going on here. Please let the question and answer continue uninterrupted.
Okay. So yeah, why were they rum casks? Why did we use Barbados rum casks particularly? Richard Seale, the owner of 4 Square Rum Distillery in Barbados, is a good friend of ours and has been for 25 years. This is actually a collaboration series that we're doing, a small collaboration series. The following one was with a guy called Etienne Dupont, an even longer standing friend of ours who owns a Calvados distillery in Normandy in France. And the following one is going to be Cardinal Mendoza Solera Gran Reserva, brandy de Jerez, not sherry. But that's another story. So I would like to tell you a wee story if you've got time. Have we got time? How are we doing for time, guys?
One question on.
Yeah, online.
On Mossberg,
Yeah.
which Speyside distillery is this coming?
Do you know what? I've completely forgotten and can't remember.
Oh, he doesn't want
No,
to say.
I don't. No, I'm not telling you.
Is it a single?
No, it's not. It was at least 5. Yeah. Sorry, I don't mean to be deliberately obtuse. But the thing is, when the distilleries who sold us this
What's that?
It's like water running.
oh
Somebody's taking
oh I thought you were I thought
Or something else.
I thought you were playing some kind of game or something. Sorry, for those of you online, there's a little noise that's distracted us here. But
Got triggered.
okay, but sorry, what were we talking about?
You were going to reveal the 5 distilleries.
Oh yes. They've all got their own brands, their own names, their own intellectual property, if you like. They sell us barrels, and we then make our own whiskey out of them. I want you to, with blended whiskey, for example, here, I want you to think of us as the whiskey maker. All right, a person who distills is a paint maker. A whiskey maker is a painter. Okay, so we are the whiskey maker or the painter. If you don't like the painting, that's our fault. And if we give up everybody's names, it's as if we're hanging on to their coattails and using that.
Yeah, yeah.
And
I
that,
mean, it's quite common. I remember going to some distilleries and they, you know, these are distilleries where I got bottles, you see them
Yep,
all over the place.
yep.
And quite a large percentage gets sold to other
Yep.
bottlers, to make their blends or.
well, we
whatever
sell
they
them
make.
barrels in return. So
Yeah. It's pretty amazing.
yeah, yeah, no, that's, yes, it's an exchange process. Okay, so I think the Alt Glaun batch strength, which was just before that, really showed fabulous balance. And it is a straight, this one I do know the age of. This is a straight 5-year-old, 60 months old. So you're looking at the balance of a 5-year-old against the balance of a 12-year-old. And they are very, very different. And you may argue they're both equally balanced. You may argue one's more balanced than the other. But I can guarantee you not everyone's going to agree. And that's the difference between a 5-year-old and a 12-year-old. So please, when you read labels, the moral of the story is I'm telling you, I've told you all about ppms. Well, the moral of the story is ignore ppms. Taste the whiskey. Do you like it? A, yes, or B, no. Ignore age statements. Taste the whiskey.
Right.
Do you like it? A, yes, or B, no. Your hand is up.
Yeah, I'm trying really hard to not interrupt.
No, it's okay.
So I was told that, or I read somewhere that the younger the whiskey is, usually the peatier it is.
Yes, that would absolutely be true because the reaction with oxygen in the barrel will diminish the ppms. Yeah.
They usually go for 10. I usually used to love all young until I hit
Well, you see,
5.
it's too, but no, that's, you see, on its own though, it's not enough information. It depends how peaty it is to start with. It's still going to be less peaty after being aged than it was when it started. But if it started at 3, it's now at 0.5. If it started at whatever number, but remember the number in the grain is not the same number that's in the glass. And it's also not a matter of the total number. It's a matter of the relationship between the 3 families that I showed you. So going for a 10-year-old only applies if if you've tried others in that same house. You can't then apply that to any other house.
So yeah,
So
the
the
I
num
usually stick at 10 because
Yeah.
I feel like that's just the perfect amount of peat for me, where the older Lafroig is less peat than I
Right.
want.
okay, but there you go. That's within a given house, and that's absolutely correct. Yeah.
And then, so I'm curious why you wanted us to taste this before we would go back to peat.
Right.
Yeah.
with
So
the
we can end on a
Madeira.
happy note.
There's a number. There's a number of reasons for that, but the first and most important reason that you need to remember is that this is my gig.
Well played.
That means that he actually doesn't have to answer the question.
Yeah.
But
The-
you actually
the-
let him
the-
write into his answer.
His answers are his.
The reason is also, or I would have contrived it this way somehow, to be honest with you. The reason is that I wanted to make a point about unpeated and peated. I also want to finish on Torabhaig, but we've also got Madeira cask here, and that's bringing a little bit more body. I think actually your question is very valid because probably in my heart of hearts, the Foursquare should have gone last.
Cheers.
You did it right.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Enjoy the last one and let's hear the story. Let's hear the story.
All right, yes, so while you're enjoying the last one, and for those of those of you online, I'm going to try this. This is a distillery special, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very dark.
Yeah. The smell, it's interesting.
Right.
Well, maybe it's not unless it's like I thought of barbecue. They're gonna tell us what.
No, I'm a big fan of adding the water and see what happens. The first time.
I don't think there's anything wrong with doing that at all. I think that it's up to you.
Yeah.
Taste it first. If you've got a really expensive bottle, taste it first, have a think about it, and then with your dropper, count the amount of drops, do 4, taste it again. Do you like it better or not? If you don't, well, don't do it again. If you still think it's not quite right, add another 4. Let's say you get to 8 and now it's okay. Well, then actually get a pen out and write 8 on the label so that next time you know, so you're not doing this again every single time. It's also quite interesting. I'm glad that's gone last, actually, in a way. It's quite savory.
Yeah.
So, is this full maturation in the Madeira can?
Yes, it is.
I'm sorry, what's
That one's
Madeira?
Madeira is a fortified wine from the island of Madeira. And I
To cook with,
yeah, Madeira, but Madeira is off the coast of Portugal.
Oh, there you go. All right, thank you for asking the question.
Right, so I want to tell you a story if you want to listen to it. Online, are they up for a story, or how are they doing?
Yeah.
They're probably jealous too.
Yeah, it's my gig, but you can all you have control. You can leave.
They said they're grabbing some popcorn and they're.
Okay. Good. So, you've been to Skye with me. You've been to Skye. You've been to Skye. You've been to Skye. Now, one of the first things.
And the
You've
Torabhaig.
been to Torabhaig. Well, me too. One of the things you will have noticed is that rounded to the nearest 0, there's no one there. We have 10,000 inhabitants.
I saw people.
You saw people. There are people there. We have 10,000 people, roughly speaking, living there. Are you showing him where Madeira is?
Yes.
How big is the island?
I don't know the actual size of it. It's the biggest island.
More close to Africa.
Yeah,
You can
yeah.
kind of hold there.
Okay.
Okay, so with the 10,000 people, we do actually get about 750,000 tourists a year. Most of them bring their own house, as in a tent or a camper van, because there's only so many hotels you can have with that amount of people. Now the thing is, we turned up there, we bought that old cattle steading, and now you've got an issue. Where are you going to find your distillers from? Where are you going to get anybody from? And so there wasn't a crew of well-trained people waiting for us to turn up. So we found a consultant, a very, very fine consultant, who was, and I say he was a very fine consultant because not only did he know everything, but he was a good teacher. And we said to him, well, Kenny, you're going to be writing the manual for how to work this thing called a distillery. And he said, you're mad. And we said, well, maybe, but will you do it? He said, yes. I said, well, there you go, then, no drama. And so this put us in a position to place a help wanted advert in the local newspaper, the West Highland Press, and it said this: team of distillers wanted for new distillery at Torabhaig, no experience necessary.
Go for that job.
Well, yeah, that would probably defeat the purpose. So what we did then was, so there's a picture there, and now the bottom left-hand picture is the team from the cafe, and the bottom right-hand picture is the team from the visitor centre. But all the other pictures are our distillers. We had a very young lady at the time, 21 years old. She was an artist. We had a gentleman from the oil rigs. In fact, they're standing together in those pictures. We had a roofer. We had a construction worker. We had somebody from the council. We had somebody from the supermarket. We had a gardener and a beekeeper. And they all turned up knowing absolutely nothing about whiskey. And they got started second week of January 2017. And we had the odd disaster along the way. We tipped 4,000 litres of beer into the sea one afternoon until somebody said, I think the tap opens the other way. But never mind, slowly, catchy monkey. After about a year, everybody knew what they were doing. Another year goes by and they understand why they're doing what they're doing. And, another 6 months or so, and they start asking questions. Why do you do it like this? Why don't you do it this way? And well, that's brilliant. So then Neil MacLeod Matteson, who I've mentioned before, he said, right, okay. He said, now seeing as you're all along the way here, I'm going to take 4 weeks out of every year. I'm going to give 2 of you 2 weeks each in turn, and you can make anything you like. You're in charge. It's your distillery, your whiskey. And so in October of 2019, Iona, who is the young lady, bottom right, blonde-haired lady in the barrel room, and Neil, who's the middle picture, if you like, really right in the middle, they went first. And then Myra and Kieran went second. So Myra's above Neil and Kieran's to the left. And they worked everything out. The ppms they were going to use, the type of barley they were going to use, the yeast they wanted to use, the length of the fermentation, the speed of the distillation, the cut points, and the barrels they would use afterwards. And each one of them has now done this, and they've very roughly speaking made about 10,000 bulk liters a person, about 80 barrels of whiskey. Now, next year, we're going to start selling them. Iona and Neil will go first because they went first. We're going to bottle half of them, about 40 barrels, and we're going to sell them on allocation around the world. The following year, we'll do half again, the following year, half again, the following year, half again. When we get through the whole cycle, we come back round. Iona and Neil's remaining 40 barrels will now be maybe 10, 12 years old, half again. Back through the cycle, half again, until we get to a single 21-year-old. And these are going to be called the Journeyman's Drams. If you have an interest in that, I really don't know what you do about that.
Stay in touch.
Stay in touch. Yeah.
We will get a large allocation of them from the U.S. to Illinois. So,
yeah. So, but now for you guys are all experts in this. So I'm going to ask you a little question. Iona wanted to make an unpeated whiskey. No, it's okay. Kieran wanted to make super.
People love Gordon.
So during that, I actually only had a little bit of everything. I gave it to my friend who loves Haven for our taste.
Iona had been going around the maltings and she tasted chocolate malt and she really liked it and she was determined to use some. But it is interesting. Kieran, on the other hand, went for 130 ppms in the grain because, quote, I don't want to talk about nuance to anybody.
But it's a very nuanced, it's a nuanced whiskey.
It's really, but the thing is, the problem is he's going to have to because it's really good.
It's a really
That's very
whiskey.
amusing. But he's a contrarian. But anyway, Iona wanted to make unpeated. All right. Why could she not? No, we just bought barley that was unpeated.
I mean, does the water
Now you're there. So you make an unpeated, you get unpeated barley, you make an unpeated wort, you make an unpeated beer, you make an unpeated first distillation, but the heads and the tails from the distillation before come back in, and they're peated. And so what we did to allow her to make an unpeated whiskey was for 2 weeks before she went, we ran unpeated through the peated system, and we made an unpeated peated. And we bottled a cask of it. It's called Beck and Cure. As that translates from the Gaelic as little smoke. And it was an unpeated peated.
So hers is 100% unpeated.
Hers is 100% unpeated.
So
Absolutely.
how does that unpeat?
I love it.
It's great.
Absolutely
I
wonderful.
did that when I tried it.
Peated was. I always say Benria, because I'm like Hebrew, but I know that's not how you pronounce it. And I didn't realize that they didn't normally give peated whiskey.
Right.
But that's what got me started on the journey. And so I find those really interesting when people who don't.
Just a little, yes,
bit.
a little bit. Well, this was an unpeated peated. But anyway, the journeyman's drams are going to be very, very interesting. And I think,
Let me ask about those in a sense of, what are you gonna be bottling, was it 46% or?
well, that will be entirely up to the journeyman in question, but I would be very surprised if anybody did anything other than cask strength.
End of 2026, guys. They'll be in the US.
I think that's right.
When will they be released in the UK?
I think it's going to be, I think it's May. I think it might be, yeah.
You have to go. All right. Yeah.
Oh, my first spring trip.
So, yeah, I just want to, yeah, go ahead, ask, please. Yeah, sorry.
Okay, so how many of those releases, how many of the journeyman releases will there be each year? Will you be
Two.
sort of pacing them? So 2 each year?
2 a year.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
Very
How many
nice.
bottles?
Well, be decreasing every
40
year.
barrels.
It'll be decreasing.
It depends, 40 barrels, well, it's 40 times 250 divided by 0.75,
Sure, I can do that.
Yeah.
roughly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Come on. This is.
Minus
Higher.
college.
It's an iPad, it's got a calculator on it.
Give
yeah.
your mouth said, Let him impress us.
Yeah.
Do your
What's
math.
it say, 40 times
Yeah.
250?
Do your math. Divided by 0.7.
Calculator,
One
right.
something.
Calculator, I didn't ask for a tip. 'cause I
40
can't-
times
10,000
250
times
equals
1.75?
divided by 0.75.
I can't do any math under 5 million.
It's all small.
Okay.
All right, anyway, let's bring it back so we can go to the Madeira cast.
Yeah, so,
Oh, sorry.
um,
I already drank it.
yeah, I think they've all done it.
More.
Sorry, guys, for the guys online, it must be difficult for the guys online.
That's-
So very quickly, this is the Madeira cask. The Madeira cask that you've got in front of you is a distillery special. It was only available at the distillery door. And did you bring this back from Scotland? I did. I
Somebody did.
brought this back from Scotland. But I just want to tell you, to finish up, Torabhaig, essentially what you've tasted this evening, what you've drunk this evening, what you've hopefully enjoyed this evening is our journey to 10-year-old. It is a combination of the Slate Peninsula, where we are, the climatological conditions, a sense of place. If we dug that distillery up and moved it 50 miles inland, it would be different. How would it be different? I don't have any idea, because I haven't done that before. But it would be different. We are a result of the people that we employed, the journeymen. We're a result of the old cattle steading that was converted to a distillery over those years. Because remember that the whole atmosphere of the place is dictated to by that, how that allows or stops the weather from getting in. Also the fact that the stills had to fit inside the building, the shape of the stills, the culture, the language, the people. That is essentially the Torabhaig way. That is who we are. And I think it's probably best summed up in a sense of place. That's who we are. The Madeira cask is a one-off, and I just think it's an interesting thing to look at. I think it's quite savory. I really like it, but I've always liked Madeira. This is a personal thing now. I love Madeira because it doesn't oxidize. With other wines that you use, sherry, wine, to me, there's always a little oxidative note on them, which whiskey lovers love, but I not so much. And Madeira doesn't oxidize, and I've always loved it. Sometimes it's not ideally suited to your whiskey, so it doesn't work. But I'm very happy that it seems to be working very nicely for ours. But essentially, that's it, guys. I hope you'll follow the journey to 10-year-old. Oh, we've got one other.
Okay, so
Wow.
it should be mentioned that the people online will have to watch us enjoy this. Okay, but in the meantime, out of respect for the fact that people online might be leaving, let's everybody give a big round of applause and thank you. You have introduced us to a wonderful new distillery. I want to emphasize something that was said before. These named expressions without ages on them, they will eventually disappear. Okay.
Yeah.
And for those of you who are interested in collecting and things like that, that is something to remember, that if you like them, they're not going to be here for that much longer. Keep that in mind. They are all at Binny's right now, I believe, in a few other places. There you go. That is the salesman speaking. Okay. And the other thing to remember also is that drink responsibly and share and enjoy with everybody else. And again, what I'd like to do right now is we're going to turn off the recording, but Eric, we can keep the Zoom going for anybody who wants to stay with us while we enjoy the last expression. So can you tell them what it is before here? Let me give the microphone to
Yep.
Jake. He's
Okay,
going to
so,
tell them
yeah.
what it is, and then we're going to cut off the recording.
So just like we had with the All Glom bat strength send off, we have Sound of Slate bat strength send off. Exact same process of making Sound of Slate, just back strength this way. We just got it into our distributor's warehouse last week. I have one sample bottle for the entire week to pour, so we'll be not so generous with this one. We can kill that Madeira cast if you guys like to at the end of this evening, but this will be priced probably around what all Glon is, so somewhere around $80 to $90, available at Binny's. They're taking majority of our stock and inventory of this, obviously. So yeah, it's good. Trust me.
Thank you, Jake.